And welcome back into a brand new episode of Tribal Council Chat. As always, we're your hosts. My name is Bruce Heller,
My name's Bill Purnell.
and we have an awesome episode for you guys to start off the new year. This might be the this is one of the two episodes I've been most excited to record. We're starting the new year off with an interview with a former player, someone that is very well known amongst the Survivor community. Definitely someone I would call a legend of the game. Three-time player, winner, going all the way back to the second season. Wesson is with us today. Welcome.
Whoop, whoop. Tina's in
Hey,
the
Tina, thank you so much for coming.
house.
So, how have you been, Tina? What have you been up to lately?
Oh, well, I'm retired now, so I'm doing a lot of camping. So Survivor is really in my blood. I've always loved the outdoors. And so I usually go camping every Tuesday and Wednesday. And so that was my summer. And then now I come down here in the Florida for the winter. So playing
Nice.
tennis and pickleball and just living the dream.
Nice. Do you see alligators very often in Florida? I was talking to
Yes, yes. So my mom lives in this community with lakes and well, little ponds, I guess. And yeah, lots of times you just walk around and there's alligators sunning themselves out there by the ponds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
So that kind of reminds me of the first question we have on our list. You say Survivor is in your blood, so would you play again? Say they called you for 50.
Of course. Of
Nice.
course. Of course.
Caller probst.
I know, right?
Did they call you for Winners at War at all?
They did, but I think Amber got my spot.
Mm.
Whenever Amber decided to go, I think that took my spot.
Mate, I would have loved to have seen both of you guys out there, but then again, if the fans
Yeah.
got everyone on Winners at War they wanted, it would have been like 1,000-person cast.
I
So,
know, right? That's so true. And, it worked out fine because, they voted all the old school players off. So I would not have enjoyed after watching the season. I'm like, ooh, I'm glad I didn't go because,
Mm.
it's no fun to go out there and be targeted and just have to go sit somewhere and not really get to play the game. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I didn't go on that one.
makes sense.
Even though I gotta say, I wouldn't mind camping out in Fiji for a while. That would not be horrible.
Yeah. I mean, they're
Beautiful.
much less likely to have a river flood your camp that way, so that's good.
Exactly. I'm not real fond of the rice diet either. That's not my favorite, but
So, moving on from there, other than your own 3 seasons, is there any other seasons of the show that have been your favorite so far?
oh wow. You know what? I really liked white collar, blue collar, no collar. I just thought that was such an interesting dynamic of people and,
Yeah.
and their cast. They had a great cast that season. And I love one of my favorite things is that at the end of the season, I love it when cast members remain in contact and they really develop a true sense of friendship and camaraderie. I remember reading about, oh boy, hold on, Star Trek. I'm old, sorry. What's the Captain Kirk? What's his name?
William Shatner?
Thank you. William Shatner. He was talking about how, all those years that he did Star Trek, but then whenever it finished, it just finished and there really wasn't a conflict within the cast. And I thought, gosh, that's so sad to go all those years and not really have any friendships at the end of that. So I really love the seasons where there really seems to be a deep connection with other players.
That's actually a perfect segue because the next question on our list was how many people from your seasons have you kept in touch with? Like, has that a lot? I'm guessing it is based on what you just said.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, there's some that I don't even know what's happened to, like Mad Dog and Kel. Um, they're just off. I don't know. Haven't heard from them for years. Don't know where they are. Um, but everybody else, I've kept in contact with here and there. And there's a few that, Colby and I are really close. Mitchell and Jerry, surprisingly, Jerry and I are really enjoy talking with each other.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, moving into the Australian Outback, one of easily the best seasons of all time. So many things happened in that season. I've probably watched it. Well, watched the first episode back after we saw Richard at the Super Bowl all those years ago, and have seen it many times since.
It's in my top 6 favorite seasons for sure.
Oh, thank you. I don't know why. I'm always fascinated to hear it from your all's perspective because it seems so different from what's on now. So, what makes it so special?
Well,
so for me,
the cast is incredible. You guys
ahead.
still hold the record for the newbie season with the most returnees. So that's a testament to the cast.
Okay.
Storylines, environment. I mean, wildfires and flood in the same season just makes interesting storylines, I guess. So
Okay, good.
For me, it's a different idea, but I work full time in the travel business, and it really is watching Rich and Rudy in Indonesia, followed by you guys in Australia, followed by Ethan and Tom in Africa the next year, that really got me to see, as a young boy, the world outside of Canada.
That's awesome.
Just seeing such a unique environment, and like Bruce said, how so many things happened in that season makes it top tier.
Okay, so Brett, with that thought in mind, do you like the fact that it's always in Fiji, or do you wish that they were still traveling around?
Certainly, I wish they still were. I completely understand the economics of it. And also, Fiji is, when you think of the game, just a perfect location. I have quite a good relationship outside of anything that people would know publicly with Michelle from 32. And just hearing from her how difficult Cambodia was, I see why they went to Fiji after everything that happened in Koh Rong. But it would be nice to see different environments all the time. That was one thing I really looked forward to growing up, but now I'm out seeing those environments myself in real life instead.
Nice. Well, that's wonderful. Travel is everything. I'm with you. I love traveling. My mom and I, who's 84, just got back from, we did Greece and Turkey.
Wow.
Yeah, so we did that in end of November. So
that's really so nice. Cool.
Yeah.
I did the Mediterranean area as well in August. Venice to Barcelona on an 11-night cruise, and then stopped in London for Taylor Swift at the same time.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow. That's a dream.
I haven't done a ton of traveling, but Egypt is probably the top of my list. I love learning and reading about the ancient Egyptian empire. So to go see all that stuff would be awesome.
It would be. I haven't made it to Egypt either yet, so that's on my list.
Nice. All right, so moving into Survivor of the Australian Outback, what was it like to be part of something that at the time was just so big? Because I remember growing up where Survivor essentially was, in the early 2000s, what Save the Earth tour was this year. It was like the #1 pop culture entertainment thing of that time period. What was it like to be part of that?
I feel so fortunate and blessed because it was, you talk about being treated like royalty. I mean, whenever I got home and the season ended, just to be home and answer my telephone, because you never knew what that phone call was going to be. I got to do so many unbelievable fun things and be a part of, they say we take 12 or however many ordinary citizens, and we throw them on this island so for them to survive. And back then, it really was just ordinary people. I say I'm extraordinarily ordinary. There is nothing. I was a soccer mom. I had my 2 kids, just getting them up ready for school. And so to take a person like that and say, okay, well, do you want to go play in the baseball all-star game with all these famous people? And I'm like, yes, I want to go do that. Do you want to go to the Grammys? Are you kidding me? I love music. Yes, I want to go to the Grammys. So it was just all these things that I would never in a million years get to do. And so, and then, back at that time, we got a lot of endorsement deals. And so I made more money from those things than I did on Survivor. So it was just a different thing back then. And it's never been that way since. And so I just feel so blessed to hit it at just the right time.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
My next question is one that, Brett, you may not have. I just added to the list talking about iconic moments and memorable things from the season. One of the most memorable parts from the pre-merge was the beef jerky gate. Do you have your side of the story of what happened that day?
Oh gosh.
It seemed to be so chaotic from the way they showed it in the episode.
Yes. And I have to say it's my biggest regret of any of my seasons. Yeah. So Jerry had come back to camp and she's like, I saw Kel eating beef jerky, because in the Outback, it was very arid and dry, and like you could see for a long way. It's not like you could hide behind a tree or something. So it was very understandable that Jerry would be able to see if Kel was out eating beef jerky. So Kel had also, before we flew out into location, we were getting ready to board the plane. Well, we were told specifically what we could take, like 2 pair of shoes, 2 pair of underwear, bathing suit, so we had our list of everything that we could take. Well, Kel had an extra pair of shoes tied to his bag and something else. And so we why does he get to have an extra pair of shoes? And so they searched his bag, and he also had a razor.
Oh, and wow.
He's like, well, the military said that I could come on the show, but I had to be clean shaven throughout the show. That was his reasoning for it. So, and he had also got caught coming through customs with beef jerky. So there was all these things pointing to, yes, he definitely could. And the military teaches you to sew it into the hem of your pants.
Oh, wow.
So there was all these little things that made you think, I think that's entirely possible.
Okay, that's interesting, because the way they show it on the episode, it just becomes this he said, she said. That's a hard phrase to say. Okay, so having context to that, it makes a little bit more sense now.
Yes, it does. But,
I always find it funny when that story comes up, because completely unrelated to the show, but Kel is from the same part of Canada that my mother and grandmother are from when he was growing up.
Oh, that's cool.
You're kidding. Oh. Kel was a little scary. Kel didn't talk very much, and he went off on his own. And I don't know, there was just something that was a little unnerving about Kel. So that's another thing when you're watching the season, you have to be able to, if you're not real comfortable being around people, you have to make yourself do a lot of things that aren't real comfortable. And so, that kind of put Kel on the outside a little bit, because he just didn't assimilate very well.
That makes sense.
And I guess that's a perfect spot to go into the next question of, is that we were wondering if you remember any of your first impressions from your tribe mates.
Oh, that's such a good question. Such a good question. First impressions. Well, I looked at Amber and I'm like, she's a baby. She's so young, to be out here. Colby, I would say, ooh, he's hot. Mitchell, whoa, he's really tall and really funny. Oh my gosh. Mitchell just kept me laughing the entire he and Tyson, Aris, and Jervis. Those four people, they bring a sense of comedic relief, because it's really stressful when you're out there. But the fact that they could find so many things to joke about and laugh about and keep the atmosphere and the tribe really fun and happy.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great. That was some of my greatest memories. Like, remember how I used to play high-low?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever I was doing blood versus water, I started that same high-low thing. Well, anytime anybody told their low, Jervis, Tyson, and Aris just started wailing on you about, like, if you said, oh, I was just really kind of down today because it was my son's birthday and I wasn't there. Well, they would start being like, what kind of mother's not there for their son's birthday?
Oh,
wow,
no.
He's going to remember this for the rest of his life. So they would just like, whatever your low was, they would make you laugh about it.
So that's great.
Not quite so low, but they were just so fun to be around.
I have seen and heard so many people that have played with Tyson say that he's so funny.
He is. He's hysterical.
That's awesome. Brett, do you want to ask the next question? Then I'll ask the last Australia question.
Oh, absolutely. So the Australian Outback was a season where, like we kind of hinted at before, in the environment, anything that could go wrong really did. What do you remember from the night of the flood?
Oh my gosh. So we had done a challenge, and this was actually Thanksgiving back home, Thanksgiving Day. So, and we're starving. I mean, it's not like now. We were really starving, I mean, you could tell I'd lost 20 pounds. The guys lose between 30 and 40. We had not eaten hardly anything that day, especially because we had to go to a challenge. And we were just really looking forward to coming back that night and having our own little Thanksgiving meal. And so we did the challenge, and it started just pouring down rain as we're walking back to our camp. And it's a long walk back to camp. So we're walking and it's pouring down rain. We have to wait because there's this water crossing that we have to do. And it had gotten so flooded that we couldn't even cross that. So we had to wait for it to quit raining and the waters to reside for us to cross the river. So across the river, we're walking back to camp, and we have to kind of like go over this ridge, and we're looking down. And as we're looking down, it's like, there's nothing there. There is nothing there. We're like, oh my gosh, our camp is gone. It's just gone. And so we go and we look, and it looks like there's a shirt downstream. There's a water bottle over there. There's a pan over here. It's just kind of like dispersed.
Oh, wow.
And we realized what had happened. Well, Amber just started bawling, crying. I mean, she was done. I mean, we all have our days out there, but that was like the straw that broke the camel's back for her. She was just devastated. And so that's when we found somebody, Roger spotted the rice. So we went and did the rice rescue thing, got the rice because we had to have our food, and I was willing to risk life and limb to get something to eat. So got that done, and then it became dark. And this is something that's really special. So there was a producer out there. Her name is Maria Baltazzi, and she is such a great producer. Some producers on the show, they want to stir up trouble. Like they ask you questions like, "So Tina, is Kel a liar and a thief, or is he a gentleman?" And I'm like, "Well, are those my only two options?" Because
Wow.
if you say he's a liar, then they're gonna show you saying, Kel's a liar. They're not going to show that you were led into that question, right?
Yeah.
So the producers on the show that stir the pot and make you answer things in a certain way that you might not really want to. But Maria was always very kind. And so that night, we are sitting around in a circle. It's raining. We don't have anything. We've got our raincoats over our head. We have no shelter. It's Thanksgiving. We know that our families are back home eating. And I can't describe to you either how it feels to be separated from your family. It's not like you go on vacation and you're separated from your family, because you're doing something really fun and wonderful and you're going back and you're having a great time. But when you're out there suffering physically, mentally, it's really difficult. That's why whenever they show all these family reunion and everybody's crying, it's because we are so psychologically broken from playing the game where you're paranoid that people are always talking about you or going to be voted out. And it's psychologically so intrusive into your being. So it's Thanksgiving. We're hungry. It's raining. And I'm like, people are down. It's the lowest of lows. We are circling around and I'm like, okay, it's still Thanksgiving Day. I'm sure that there is something that we can still find to be thankful for. So let's all go around and say something that we're thankful for. So we all did that. And as it's raining, Maria is sitting just a little bit away from us. And she stayed out there in the rain. And she said that she felt like if we were suffering, she felt that she wanted to be out there doing the same thing.
That's so cool.
Isn't that just, it's remarkable. She's a remarkable person. She's actually written a book, something about happiness. I don't remember the exact name, but you can find it by Maria Baltazzi. And she even mentioned some of us in her book. But so that was a really low day for us. Lowest of all the days.
Oh, I bet. My next question, the last question we have from Australian Outback. You and Colby are one of the most well-known iconic duos of the show. And one thing I've always admired about his game, and other people give him flack for this because they say it cost him the win, was that when he won Final Three, he could have chosen the easy route. He chose to want to go up against the best at Final Tribal and chose loyalty to his friendship with you. Mm-hmm. If you had won that final immunity, would you have made that same choice?
Absolutely.
That's what I assumed.
We were like this. We were very, very close.
Yeah.
And, I wish it had turned out that way. I wish that I had won that last immunity, because then I think that Colby got a bad rap for that. It's like, oh, he's a mama's boy. He just got a lot of flack. And if I had won it and taken him and still won, he never would have gotten kind of that flack about it. So I really wish that it had turned out that way. But, I try it every interview I do. I'm like, it speaks volumes about who he is, because he would have, at 20 something years old, he could have easily won $1 million. But who chooses loyalty over $1 million? And so both of us have $1 million friendship. It's just that he had to put his into action.
One thing I also love, and my mom points this out too, is like at the reunion when you're announced as the winner, he immediately like stands up and is clapping and cheering, and I love that.
Yes, we both would have been thrilled for each other. When you're out there playing, we're both super, super competitive. So that's another aspect of the game is that he really meant that. I want to beat the best. And I would feel the same way. You know, what does it matter if you beat Keith? Because he wasn't really in the running so much to say. So Kobe and I we had that competition and we wanted to see who's going to win between us. So that was real. That was true.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of Keith, a quote that always makes me laugh is Jerry saying, "How does a gourmet chef not know how to cook rice?" That just makes me smile every time I watch that episode.
I know. And I got to say, love his heart. His rice was horrible. It was awful, sticky. Oh, it was awful. So, yeah. And then Jerry started cooking it and it was great. So
that's insane.
I know. I don't know.
So funny.
He didn't have the right pot to cook it in. So maybe he just knew how to cook it in a certain kind of pot.
Makes sense.
So, moving on to your second season, Survivor All-Stars, which unfortunately you weren't on as much as either of us, any of the three of us probably would have wanted, but we're still there.
Wow.
Was it a different feeling? Like, how was it different playing with returning players who had played the game before as opposed to all new players in your first season?
Yeah, it's hard to know because I was only there for 3 days. But so I didn't really get a feel for it. I feel like I had told Mark Burnett before we ever went out there that we needed to put all the winners on the same tribe because if they didn't do that, then they were going to vote all of us out one by one, which is what they did. So
you called it.
Yeah, so I knew that going in, but I'll tell you what that season taught me. I didn't handle being voted out very well.
Oh no.
So I don't know. Now I realize that, whether it's like blood versus water, when I realized I'm on the bottom of alliance or whatever the situation is, I got to realize it's a game. Whereas it's really hard for me to separate real life from the game. That's why I struggled a little bit. But then I started watching these other seasons where, the alliances are just for that tribal council. Next tribal council, there might be another alliance. And people are like, good on you. That was a great job. Good move. And I'm like, how can they do that? Because I take it so seriously. So now then I think I understand a little bit better that I could go out and I could maybe not be as loyal as I feel like I've been in the past and play the game a little more like a game and not like it's real life.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a great suggestion to have all the winners on one tribe for this season. They just needed a couple more winners out there.
Yes.
Well, Sandra was supposed to be there. I heard her say that before, that she couldn't go because of some parasite or sickness from Pearl Island.
Who?
Sandra.
Oh, really?
I think I heard her say that when she did Talking with T-Bird.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Which I loved you on Talking with T-Bird also, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Isn't T-Bird great?
She just seems like the best. She seems so nice.
She's so sweet.
So continuing into All-Stars, but this kind of ties back to Australia. Like you mentioned, your first impression, you played with Amber for 33 days in Australia. Did you think that there was a good chance that she would play the game she did in All-Stars, or was that a big surprise since she was so young at the time?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was very surprised, actually. She did a great job. I'm quite proud of her.
And so the last question we have, and again, you were only there for 3 days, but while you were there, you were once again on a tribe with Jerry, who you said you're really close with now, but on your first season were kind of on opposite sides of the game. What was that kind of dynamic like the brief time you were on All Stars? Was that similar to Australia?
She wasn't on my tribe. So, was
Okay.
she wasn't, I don't think she was on my tribe. Was
Maybe
she?
I have that wrong.
You might. I don't know. Maybe she was, and I don't remember.
I want to say you were
What
both on the yellow tribe.
we were?
Yeah, both
Yes.
of you with Jenna, Rupert, Ethan, and Rudy.
Oh, okay. Well, gosh, you know what? That's scary. I don't even remember. Here's what I remember about that. So, they really tried to protect, I don't know how to say this. They try to protect the integrity of the game. So they don't want there to be any pre-game alliances going on. So CBS does a really good job at keeping people separated before the game starts. So whenever we were, that one was in Panama, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in Panama, and we are at this location prior to going out on the show. And we have to go to our meals, but we're not allowed to speak to each other. We can go off and read a book, but we have to do everything by ourselves. We can't talk to any players before the game. So I saw that Rupert, when we were at the airport getting ready to go to location, I saw Rupert in the airport. And, I was a big Rupert fan from watching him play before. And so I was so excited. So I was just hoping that Rupert would be on my tribe. So one night, whenever we get to location and we're going to dinner, I had written a note, and I told Rupert, I said, Rupert, you don't know all these players, but I do. Here are the people that you can trust, and here are the ones that you can't. So I slipped him a note at one of the dinners, and, still not knowing whether or not he's going to be on my tribe or not. I just wanted to give him a heads up. So then, let's see. Fast forward, we find out he's on my boat as we are going through that opening scene. Well, he gets deathly seasick.
Oh
So
no.
Oh no.
he is green. He's throwing up. He's bad. So I'm over there on the boat trying to comfort him, trying to give him some water, putting a wet rag on his face, trying to get him feeling better. And I'm so wanting to be in an alliance with him, And whenever I get to camp, looking around and seeing who's on the tribe, I'm thinking, I'm in trouble. I'm going to be in trouble. So I know I can get Ethan because he was a fellow winner. And then I was hoping that I would be able to get Rudy and Rupert. I was hoping to get those three people on my tribe, on my alliance. Well, after doing all that for Rupert, he swung and went with the others to vote me off. And so I was like, dadgum you, Rupert. So I was mad at Rupert. But anyway.
So, moving into Blood versus Water, you ended up playing with your daughter, Katie. Is that always who it was going to be from when they first called you, or was there other people that ran through your mind?
Yeah, so my son is 13 months younger than my daughter. And so I knew that, I had to pick one of those two, and that was going to be a hard decision.
Yeah.
I felt like it was going to hurt one of their feelings pretty badly. But my son was more outdoorsy, more athletic, but he surprisingly is not as tough as my daughter.
Huh.
My daughter she's got a mental toughness about her, but she's not athletic at all. She doesn't really like the outdoors. She's more of an indoors girl. So, I have this decision to make. So what I decided to do was I told Taylor, he had a girlfriend, and I said, Taylor, you're going to have to be away from your girlfriend for 2 months. You're not going to be able to eat hardly anything. They're going to starve you. So I was trying to give him all the reasons why he shouldn't go. And he said, okay, well, just ask Katie to go. So that's how it ended up being Katie instead of Taylor.
And just for the record, I really enjoyed watching Katie on that season. It's such a good cast that I feel like she doesn't get mentioned as much, but I enjoyed watching her that season.
Well, thank you. And, had it not come down to drawing rocks, there's no telling because she went pretty far in the game.
Yeah.
So, and it came down to drawing rocks. So if she didn't have to draw rocks, she might have gone a lot further.
Yeah.
And she is funny. I got to say, too, because she wasn't on as long, but Katie has a really funny sense of humor. So she would have been another Tyson out there
Nice.
if it had shown her longer.
Do you think she would play again?
No.
I would pass.
No.
That's fair.
She did that for me.
Fair enough.
She went out there for me.
All right. So, in Redemption Island, you and Laura were the two standouts on the twist of that season, just dominating duels one week after the next. What was it like spending so much time on the Redemption Island with just the two of you?
That's a good question. So, first of all, you get up in the morning before daybreak. Okay, you're sleeping on wood. You have a person, I guess it's a producer, I don't know, that comes early in the morning on a boat, so you hear the boat coming in, and so you're awake at the butt crack of dawn. You're on a teeny tiny island. I mean, teeny tiny island. I have ants in my pants. I've got to be moving. I've got to be going and doing. I don't sit still easily. And I was like a lion in a cage. There was a little beach, and I would walk, pace, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, going crazy. I mean, it's like, this is how bad it was. You don't ever usually throughout your day have to come up with something to think about. Your brain naturally thinks for you, right? I mean, it just does it. You don't have to make it do it. It got so bad, my boredom got so bad, I would go sit down and think, okay, what do you want to think about?
Wow.
Because I couldn't think of anything to even think about. I'd have to try to force myself to think about something because I had all day long from like 5 a.m. until maybe 8 or 9 at night to try to come up with something to think about. And Laura slept. Have you ever gone as a young kid, gone on vacation, and it was a long vacation in the car, and you went and took a nap, and it took care of about 3 or 4 hours of the trip, and so the trip didn't seem as long?
Yeah.
Well, this trip for me was endless. It was the longest trip of my life, and Laura was able to sleep through it. It drove me crazy that she could just sleep all day long, and then all night she'd wake up and, we'd have some rice for lunch and she'd go back to sleep. And so for me, it was like being out there by myself. But let me also say this. So Laura was very spiritual. And so we talked a lot about God and about spiritual things. And I grew up as a Christian. I became a Christian when I was 16. But I probably wasn't as close as I usually have been at the time. And Laura really kind of, through conversation, set me back onto that track of spirituality. And whenever I got home, it was really kind of going back on that route where I was prior to. So that was really a very special thing about me and Laura.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Is she someone you're still in contact with? I know we asked you that about your first season.
Yes, I am in contact with Laura.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So in Edge of Extinction, season 38, we saw Chris won after coming back in from a redemption twist, similar to Redemption Island, but it was Edge of Extinction. Had you survived one more vote in Blood versus Water, do you think there's a chance you could have won that season?
I know I would have won it.
Now I wish it, nothing against Tyson, but now I really wish it would have happened.
I know, me too. And you know what? That challenge, I don't know if you remember it, it was brutal. It was a brutal challenge. You had all those stairs going up to that big platform that we
Yeah.
had to go, because it had like 3 or 4 different things that you had to do. And after each one, you had to go up the platform, up all those stairs and down. And I'm like 20, 30 years older than these people. And it's like, it kicked my butt. It just kicked my butt. So I feel like, if it had been a challenge that was a little more equal as far as age, the final one on the first season was just holding your hand on a pole, the one that Richard won,
Yeah.
So if it had been something a little more like that, I think I would have had a chance in the challenge to win. And then I think I would have won the whole thing because people were not real fond of Tyson and Jervis and Monica.
Yeah. Well, that is the last of the questions we have written down. But while I had one earlier that wasn't specific to one of your seasons. Is there anyone you haven't played with that you think that you would want to play with, or you think you'd enjoy being out there with?
Yule. I've always said I'd love to play with Yule.
I love you. Honestly, I said this before. Saul on 47 that's ending now reminds me of Yule in a way.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. Yule's done so much, just like with helping with Pinner and
Yeah.
his wife's ALS and stuff, and go out to play and give all the money to an organization like that. I mean, what a guy. What a stand guy. I really wish I had the opportunity to play with him.
He seems incredible. His winning game on Cook Islands is incredible. Just all around. Lots of love for Yule.
Yes, I know. I really love being around quality humans, people,
Yeah.
people who just have something about them that's unique. And I just think he's just such a great guy. I just always wanted to play with him.
That is awesome. Brett, do you have any more questions?
Great final question that I didn't think of, Bruce.
Well, Tina, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We
Oh,
are both just so excited.
Thank you so
that we
much,
got to
Tina.
talk to you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Do you have any plans?
I think my mom is coming over here to my house for a few days.
Okay. How about you, Brett?
I'll just be with my own parents. Not really planning anything because my dad and I just got back from the Caribbean, so still kind of tired.
Okay.
There we
All
go.
right. Well, I hope it's a great Christmas for you both.
Yeah, you as well, and your family as well.
Okay.
And with that being said, everyone grab your torches and head back to camp. Bye, bye, guys.
Bye.